Welcome back to the Outdated Wrestling Hour. You know, a lot of people ask me, how'd you get your job talking about the wrestling on the podcastages? Well, there was an audition that slop Bob gave. It was tough, but I was the winner. You know, I remember it like it was yesterday.
Got to that.
Gentlemen, please. We are only auditioning the speaking staff announcers. Will the dancing staff announcers please wait in the wings? Aww. Well, we might as well get started. Carmen, who's first?
Here's Otto Picard.
Well, Otto, what have you been up to?
Well, for 2 years, I was the ring announcer for Bloodletting Gore Wrestling, an independent group out of Maryland. Then I was a ring announcer for Disgusting Entrails Wrestling, a hot new hardcore federation out of Florida. And last year, I auditioned to become the lead announcer for the World Wrestling Entertainment Corporation.
What happened?
I didn't get it.
Oh, just go ahead. Try announcing the show.
Ladies and...
Thank you. All right. Carmen, who's the next one?
Here is Bob 20 minutes from now.
20 minutes from now? That's a strange last name. Well, it beats Smith 10 times out of 10.
What?
Well, I watched a lot of wrestling on my Philco console. I watched Ricky Star.
All right, go ahead.
It's the Outdated Wrestling Hour. Oh, man. I mean, is anybody going to get the references on this one? I don't know. I think maybe a few people will, but this is going to sail right over your heads, I think. Oh, my gosh. Why am I doing this to myself? Hi, everybody. My name is Bob Smith. I am the former managing editor of Pro Wrestling Illustrated and soon to be ex-host of the Outdated Wrestling Hour. I hope everybody's doing good today. I'm doing just fine. Everything's been wonderful here in podcast land, especially, I don't know if you all have noticed, but from our first show to now, this is number 21, I believe. It sounds really good. I am so thrilled with the upgrades we have made with our studios, with our editing, everything. I'm just thrilled with the sonic quality of the show. I am a real stickler for this sort of thing. I want this to be the most sonically pure wrestling podcast you can get for your podcast dollar, so to speak. But no, I just want it to sound good. I mean, there's a lot of podcasts I really like in different genres, not just wrestling. And some of them sound like they're recording in a toilet or a basement or just, just there's no sonic quality to it. So I'm trying to be the opposite of that. I want this to sound just like Mark Maron or Hermione Gingold or whoever has a podcast out these days. I just want it to sound major league as best I can, or at least, somewhat high fidelity. So I'm just explaining where my head has been at lately. This is going to be kind of a shorty show. I have no guest. We are going to have guests coming up. Some really great wrestling journalists and some friends have agreed to come back on the show, so I'm looking forward to that very much. So we have a lot of really good things coming up, and I hope you will stick around to enjoy them. And I hope you didn't mind the opening parody from the original version of the producers, in case you're trying to figure out what that was. That it was the same opening, only they were auditioning to find the worst singing Hitler they could find, who turned out to be Dick Shawn. If you haven't seen the producers, you have to see it. The original one with Zero Mostel and Gene Wilder. It is the funniest movie ever made. Mel Brooks is a hero of mine, and I just think you need to see this film if you haven't seen it. See the original producers from 1967. It hasn't aged a bit, man. You will still enjoy it. I'm telling you, it's a classic. It still looks great. The print that's on, you can see it on Apple TV. It just looks spectacular. So try to catch it. Anyway, I never talk current wrestling, but the talk of the town, and I've been getting emails and well, no, not emails, but, I've been on Facebook and Twitter talking about wrestling. I'm so doggone sick of the bloodline. I'm sorry. They have to wrap this whole thing in this Peyton place. Oh, is the family going to break up? Let me get this straight. We're supposed to root for the two guys who've been causing outside interference for 2 years. Like they're heroes of some sort for standing up to Roman Reigns? Is this the deal? Is this what we're down to? Seriously? It's just, here's the sad part about it. I think they're all great wrestlers, every one of them. I think Solo's got a lot of potential. Roman Reigns is the prototype for what a wrestling star should be. And the Usos have gone up tenfold in my mind. They can do it all. They're a great tag team. They'd probably be great individually, too. But I'm telling you, I am so tired of this. There's nobody to root for. There's going to be more outside interference. It's going to be the same thing again for months. I see no end to this. Too much talking. I think Bryan Danielson was quoted as telling Triple H that there was, to paraphrase, it looked like a wrestling show that nobody wrestles on. It's always that way anymore. Talk. Over-angled. That's current wrestling. Everything is over-angled. Especially the way, like on Raw and SmackDown, they set up opening matches on the fly. Why not just have them all standing in the ring and start to wrestle? Do they really need some kind of drama to get things going? I mean, I am telling you, guys, I'm gonna head to AEW soon if this keeps up. I never thought I'd say this. AEW has been so disappointing, for at least from where I sit. But you know what? I got to give it a try. I wasn't in the opening parody that far away from the name of a lot of current indie federations. Twisted Maniac Wrestling and stuff like that. What is going on out there? What's going on out there? Come on, honey. Let's get the kids. Put them in the car. We're going to go see, rip your throat out championship wrestling. Really? Come on. I'm just soul sick over the whole doggone business anymore. Anyway, what's going to happen on our podcast here? I am setting something up, and I hope you will absolutely try to be part of this. This is an open call to my friends who have been on the show, even to non-wrestling organization fans. I need 3 people. All right? I'm looking for 3 good people, male or female, young or old. It's going to be a nostalgia thing, but I have put together what I consider to be the hardest old school trivia quiz, the Outdated Wrestling Hour Trivia Contest. And I want to pick, as Fred Blassie would say, a champion. On the show, concurrently at the same time, I want 3 contestants. They could have been in the wrestling business. They could be wrestlers. They could be just serious old school fans. I don't care. I need 3 people to join me on an upcoming Outdated Wrestling Hour. And we're going to spend the entire show doing the Outdated Wrestling Hour Trivia Contest. The prize will be... Let's see now. My Buick is kind of messed up. I don't know. My loving cup has got flowers in it right now. I don't know what the prize is going to be, but I will say this. You will have the satisfaction of being known as a real serious wrestling expert if you can answer the majority of these questions. So this is an open call, folks. I need you. I'm going to do the ultimate wrestling trivia challenge. Or at least I think it's challenging. I've already come up with the questions. There's going to be 10 to 15 of them as I whittle them down. And anybody that can answer the majority of these questions really knows their stuff. So come on. Come join me on the first ever Outdated Wrestling Hour Trivia Contest. It's all wrestling trivia, all old stuff. Like it says on the placard for the show, it's all old and all new. So hey, Apter, you want to see how smart you are? Hey, Peters, how about it? Hey, Rosenbaum, where you been? How about you guys, Liam or Terry Sullivan, who's been in the business? How about it? Anybody want to come back, or will I find some new people? Anything is possible with this, but I'm going to do this show. I need 3 contestants. I wish I had some kind of a super duper prize. Maybe I can find something to send you. I don't know. I might have something wrestling related that I could actually send as a prize. I'll come up with something. But in any event, this is going to be kind of fun. I think it'll be exciting. It's a new thing. I haven't heard this type of thing on any other wrestling podcast. So what the heck? I'm going to give it a shot. The Outdated Wrestling Hour Wrestling Trivia Contest. I can't wait to do this. I think it's going to be fun. We're just going to have a lot of laughs, a lot of fun, and we really want you along for the ride. And we want you listeners along for the ride, too. And I want to thank you all again. Things have been percolating just fine in every aspect of this podcast. We had Dave Dynasty, who got a lot of great reviews from last time. It was great to have him on the show to talk about the old days of the Indiana-based WWA, Dick the Bruiser's Bruiser Bedlam. I'd love to get Dr. Jerry Graham Jr. on the show. I'm just gonna wish out loud for a little bit. You know who I'd like to see on the show? I'm going to just throw caution to the wind, and I'm going to ask a lot of my favorite people that I knew in the wrestling business to come on. And I did know some big stars, and I'm going to ask them. Worst thing that can happen is they say no or ignore my plea. But you know what? I have a feeling they won't. I made too many friendships in wrestling over the course of the years, even after I left the business. And I want to get some people on the show who I find that had very interesting careers, who people haven't heard from in a long time. I will say our lowest rated show so far, and not that I really pay that much of attention to the ratings, but it was startling, came because I booked a guest who had just appeared on like 3 other shows. So it becomes rote. I think people go, "Oh, I've heard this all before." So I'm going to be a little more choosy with who comes on here. But I want to thank everybody that's been on here, every single one of you. It was great to touch base with Sonny Blaze again, meet Dave Dynasty and Terry Sullivan, all my friends, Craig Peters, everybody who's been on the show. It's just been great. Mike Morris, who I consider a new friend, who's going to come back. We're going to do an episode on the Central States. So like I said, this is going to be kind of a truncated show, but I really want to thank everybody for joining us every single week. Do something a little different right now. I'm going to take a look at upcoming wrestling conventions you should know about. There's some really cool conventions that are about to happen throughout the summer. I've been invited to be part of one, and I'm hoping to be at least going to at least one. I'll bring my big sign. I actually have one. But in any event, I'd like to meet some people in person and say hello to some folks that I haven't seen in a long time. So I'm going to list a few conventions you might want to check out as we segue into the summer months. Coming up in Philadelphia at the 2300 Arena on Saturday, July 1st, is the Icons of Wrestling Convention and Fan Fest. And they have a tremendous lineup of guests coming to that show. I mean, it's a who's who. I just want to list some people that I'm particularly think it's amazing they got, like Lita and Nia Jax from the WWE, legends like Greg Gagne and Jim Brunzell, AEW's Dr. Britt Baker, and Sammy Guevara. Jules Strongbow, one of the nicest men I have ever met in wrestling. I don't know if he remembers me, but I was at a couple of independent shows that he was on, and he was just fabulous. Somebody I think is going to draw a lot of interest is Bushwhacker Luke is going to be there. Rising female wrestler Chris Statland, who is just tremendous. She's from the Long Island area, or at least wrestled in the Long Island area for a long time. Mike Jackson. Don't call him a jobber. He's a great wrestler. He's going to be there. The Powers of Pain. Tremendous. Demolition. The Rock and Roll Express. I mean, it just keeps going on. Kevin Sullivan, Ryback. I mean, it gets better and better. And they're still adding people all the time. So it's the Icons of Wrestling in Philadelphia on July 1st. For information on this, log on to iconsofwrestling.net. It's about as star-studded as it gets. I mean, the lineup has improved even since I looked at this about a month ago. This is one I may appear at with a table if I can get vendor space. So I'm going to check that out, and I'm very, very serious about it. Really looking forward to Icons of Wrestling in Philadelphia. North Carolina's been such a hotbed of wrestling for as far back as I can remember. And they're having a huge, huge event November 24 through 26 at the Benton Convention Center in Winston-Salem. It's the WrestleCade weekend, and they have already booked an incredible bunch of current and former wrestlers. It's just incredible. The Boogeyman, who WWF fans might remember, Bryan Danielson, amazing. Bugsy McGraw, Buff Bagwell. Oh man, this is just scintillating. Devon Dudley, CJ Perry, who you may remember just from recently, the legendary George South, Jake the Snake Roberts, Jimmy Hart, Jimmy Valiant, Caitlyn, you may remember from the WWE, as well as Ken Anderson, used to be known as Mr. Kennedy, the Immortal Conan, wow. Formerly Victoria and Tara is Lisa Marie Varone. That's amazing. The list just goes on and on. Nikita Koloff, one of the great gentlemen of wrestling history, and Ricky Morton too. And the fabulous ones. Wow. It's called WrestleCade Weekend, November 24 through 26 in Winston-Salem. Learn all about it at, of course, WrestleCade.com, which makes a whole lot of sense. I would check that out if I were you. On July 8th and July 9th, what a unbelievable event is coming to the New Jersey Meadowlands Exposition Center in Secaucus. Contropolis, New Jersey. That's what it's called, Contropolis. We just hit you with the nuts and bolts. It's contropolisnewjersey.com. And it's July 8th and 9th. And wow. Scheduled to be there are Jake the Snake Roberts and the Honky Tonk Man. So this is one of those all-in-one entertainment conventions that really looks like a gas. They just get wilder and stranger, these conventions. There's something called the Fanboy Expo Knoxville Convention. And they've got some wrestling guests coming to that one too, as well as, superstars from the entertainment world. It's unbelievable. People like Jason Smith and Joey Lauren Adams, big time actors are going to be there, especially in the science fiction genre. And you'll get to meet all of them. A Mama's Family reunion, Vicki Lawrence, and the cast of Cobra Kai and Willy Wonka reunion. I mean, it's crazy. But the special guest that wrestling fans might be interested in, she's being billed as Mercedes Varnado. She's in Japan right now. I think you know who I'm talking about. Also, Jesse Ventura is scheduled to be there. Also, Rob Van Dam, Kurt Angle, Kevin Nash, Ron Simmons. Oh, another great gentleman of the wrestling business. So again, it's Fanboy Expo /Knoxville/celebrity-guests. Just try it at Fanboy Expo. It's probably easier that way, but it's just a tremendous looking event. And I think you ought to check that one out. Boy, it's making me want to go all over the country. I'm telling you. The last one I want to hit right now, although there's so many this summer, it's going to be the summer of the wrestling convention, I'm telling you. On July 29th, in Warwick, Rhode Island, at the Crown Plaza Hotel is the New England Fan Fest. Here's a partial list of who's going to be there. Kane, Mike McGurk. Some of these names are just knocking me out, like Barry Horowitz, Duke the Dumpster, Haku, Dr. D. David Schultz, the Fantastic Rockin' Robin, Joel Gertner, Buff Bagwell, Devon Dudley, Rhino, Ahmed Johnson, and the list goes on. That's tremendous. Facebook.com/New England Fan Fest. Tremendous. The list goes on. It is absolutely going to be the summer of the wrestling convention. They just go on and on and on. Check them out. Comb the internet. I'm sure you can find some of your favorite stars. And you'll be shocked at finding out how nice some of these people are. A lot of these wrestlers are just the salt of the earth. And I'm going to get out there as best I can this year. I haven't done it 20, 30 years. It's time for me to get off my duff and go out and meet and mingle with the friends I've had for all these years. So it's time to do that. So I'm going to plug some stuff that's coming up on the show right now, if it's okay. A while back, I was at the PWZ podcast with Rick Del Santo. He's coming on the show in another week or two. By the way, I have this habit When I tape a show, I usually run it the same week. I have literally taped the show and ran it the day it's supposed to come out. We come out every Friday. And believe me, I've done everything I can to hit that deadline as best I can. But Rick Del Santo, great guy. I feel like I've known him for years and I've talked to him once. So I was on his podcast and now he's going to join us on this one as well. Also, a journalist named Joe Puccio. When you hear this guy's resume, you're going to hit the floor. This guy has written about professional wrestling, and I'm really proud to have him coming up on the show. But we've agreed to a date, and I can't wait to talk to him because we've been talking about doing it for a long time. Also, Mayor John McCall, who has one of the Red Hot podcasts right now, he's coming on the show, and I'm looking forward to meeting him as well. And in October, one of the famous people from Facebook and his podcast, Benny Scala. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And this is just a fraction of the people, but I wanted to give a tip of the cap to these folks because I've been talking to them all recently about making appearances. We're going to have some more PWI alumni. You can trust me on that one. And I'm looking forward to that as well, including some who haven't appeared on the show yet. My fingers are crossed. So that should be a lot of fun as well. So I have a feeling it's going to be a very eventful summer. It's been a great spring and a great 2013 so far for us here at the Outdated Wrestling Hour. There are a ton of wrestling podcasts. There's even a mess of nostalgia wrestling podcasts. You know what? They're all great. Check them out. I'm in competition with nobody. I'm just doing it to continue my love of traditional classic professional wrestling and sharing it with all of you. Go on YouTube and check out the treasure trove of professional old school wrestling that is available there at the flick of a button. And you know what? Hats off to the WWE section on Peacock as well. They just added a whole mess of 1980 championship wrestling shows with Joe McHugh. They're actually adding to the old school wrestling section on that area of Peacock. Gotta love that. There's a lot of old stuff. There's some tremendous pay-per-views, old cards from Madison Square Garden. It's easy to bust on WWE, but they're not entirely forgetting about the older fans. I think that's great. Hey, enough of my yak, and find me on Facebook at Bob Smith, or on Twitter as Bob Smith NYC, or at our website, outdatedwrestlinghour.buzzsprout.com, or at our Gmail address, outdatedwrestling@gmail. Get a hold of us. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a wrestler. We're here to stay, Jackson, so we hope you come back too. You know who is due for a comeback? Tony Atlas, who once looked at the camera when he was the IWCCW champion, and right in front of me, he said, "Who do you think I am? Hogan?"